Thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Chris Pulaski. I'm chairman of the planning committee for the bicentennial celebration. On behalf of Parish President Dove, who couldn't be here tonight, I want to welcome you all. And just to recognize a few of the elected officials in the office, in the room. We have Darren Guidry, chairman of the Parish Council. And District 6, we have Jessica Domain, Council District 5, and retired Judge Jude Fungi. Where are you, Judge? I got you. Thanks for coming. Thank you all for coming once again. This is the final presentation. It's been a lot of fun. The festival was a lot of fun. We were blessed with great weather and a great turnout. I know a lot of you made it out there, and all of this is being documented. Once this thing is over, we're going to be putting together a booklet that sort of wraps everything up, and we'll publish or put that out for publication, so we'll be able to capture all that we've done and all the hard work that went into this thing. I'm very excited about tonight. The thing I'm most excited about is I have no idea what's about to happen. But I know who put it together, so I have faith. But I'd like to turn it over to Councilwoman Domain. She's going to lead us in the pledge and invocation, and we'll get started.
Let's go ahead and bow our heads. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to gather together and celebrate our wonderful community's 200th anniversary. This is such a wonderful milestone for our community and our parish. We've been through so much, and we've come so far. It's so enlightening to see this great group of people and so many leaders in our area who are working towards just the betterment of our future. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I always want to say, play ball.
Okay. Hello. My name is... Oh, well, I guess that's not important. I'm a tour guide. Yes, I am. I have a wonderful bus tour, and we were coming here we were going to gamble in Mississippi, but our tour bus broke down. It was terrible. And of course, everybody, you know how it is when you're on, some of you, most of y'all know what it's like to be on a tour bus. Well, anyway, we were there, and everybody starts getting out and complaining. Well, I told them, hey, get out there, get to know Terrebonne Parish. And they did just that. Now, we brought them all back, and they've got a report that they're going to give. So get ready, it's going to be fabulous. Okay, our first person up is Gail Aycock. Yes, come right on up. Yes, give her a hand.
Well, you told us to go see what we could see, but unfortunately, I was hungry. Oh. So my first thought was, I have to get something to eat. So I got on a city bus, and I went down to the end of Barrow Street. And when I went down to the end of Barrow Street, I found this place. And it looked like a Cajun cabin, and the name of it was Hébert's Cafe. It is an authentic Cajun restaurant here. It is owned by Albert and Jane Hébert, and they have been open since 1963. They serve wonderful food. I had the gumbo and potato salad. It was so delicious, and the desserts are to die for. They offer Cajun music on Friday nights to entertain their folks. It's suspended right now, but they hope to start again. They're so proud of their place, and they're ready to celebrate their 60th anniversary of being in business in February of 2023. So I had my fill there, but I was so full when I left that I really didn't think I could get on a bus again, so I started to walk. And I walked along until I heard music coming out of this building. It was called the Jolly Inn. The Jolly Inn is owned by Whirling Prospery and his daughter, and it's been in business since 1998 in this location. I was amazed to find out that the Jolly Inn is the only authentic Cajun dance hall between New Orleans and Lafayette. They are very proud of that distinction, too. It is named after another Jolly Inn that existed in Houma over 50 years ago, where people in Terrebonne Parish danced and entertained themselves forever. It's a wonderful experience. They still have music here, and they have line dancing and Cajun music on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sunday afternoons. I really wanted to stay and dance, believe me. I love to dance, but I just had to keep moving on. So I left there, and I followed down Barrow Street, and the next place I came to was so beautiful. St. Matthew's Episcopal Church. Beautiful building, beautiful stained glass windows. It's pretty old. It's 167 years old. In 2010, it was destroyed by a fire, totally destroyed. But with the help of the church and the community at large who came together, it was restored, and it rose from the ashes within 5 years. It was a beautiful symbol of faith and community coming together in Terrebonne Parish. I enjoyed my visit to the church, but I kept walking, and I finally got to Main Street. I took a left on Main Street, and immediately I saw this beautiful fountain. I met a man there. His name was John. It just happened to be his birthday. But he stayed with me and explained to me what the fountain was all about. It's by a lady named Marguerite Ward from New Orleans. She's the artist. And it pictures a beautiful Native American woman holding a hand-woven basket that have crawfish in it. And the two children next to her, the little boy is holding a fish in one hand and a crawfish in the other hand. And the little girl is holding a doll made of moss. This fountain is a wonderful tribute to the Native Americans who were the first inhabitants of Terrebonne Parish. So then I thought, where to go next? Well, I just turned around, and right across the street from it was this beautiful mural on the side of a wall that depicts the whole history of Terrebonne Parish. It depicts the structures and all the things that went together, that came together to be Terrebonne, the good earth. It starts with the Umas, that's O-U-M-A-S, Indians, and it ends with the Acadian immigrants known as Cajuns. It really is a sight to see, and there are little depictions along the wall that explain what each scene represents. It's really a must-see for people. So where to go next? I turned around in the parking lot, no less, and found the Whitney Bank building. I go inside the building, and I see this beautiful stained glass mosaic made by artist Conrad Abrizio. It represents industry in Terrebonne Parish at the time, which was agriculture and the oil industry. This beautiful mosaic was originally on the outside of the building, and when they remodeled, it was actually might be destroyed. They took it piece by piece and moved it where it is now in the lobby of the Whitney Bank, and it is so protected and it's so beautiful. The colors are so vivid, you have to see it in person to believe it. So then I left the bank building. Where to go now? Well, I started thinking, I said, it's amazing, but within 300 feet of each other are three of the most beautiful artworks in Terrebonne Parish. But I continued my walk, and I headed toward the court square. And when I got to the court square, this is what I found. What does all of that mean? It looks like those beads are growing out of the trees. Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Hi, could you tell me what those purple, green, and gold things are in the trees?
You don't know what those purple, green, and gold things are? Those are known as Mardi Gras beads. And these beads are thrown by the float riders during the carnival parades every year.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know anything about that. By the way, my name is Gail, and I am stranded here for the day because our tour bus broke down, and the tour director said go out in Houma and see what you can see.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about your bus breaking down, but I am Lawrence Robinson, and it's a pleasure to meet you, and welcome to our city of Houma.
Thank you. And you know much about this Mardi Gras stuff?
Oh, do I? Mardi Gras is a big family celebration. It's a great time.
And have you participated in that?
Yes, I have participated in this. It's just a great experience.
Well, I see you might have been more involved in it.
Yes, I am very heavily involved in it.
And you participated in it too, I see on your shirt.
Yes, I was the king.
You are the king of Houma?
No, not of Houma, but I was King Hercules the 18th in 2002. And oh, what an experience that was. I'll never forget it.
Well, what was it like? I mean,
It was an experience of a lifetime. You know what? If you have some time, I can tell you even more about my experience in Mardi Gras.
oh, thank you. I would appreciate that.
So why don't we go and have a cup of coffee?
Sounds good to me.
I have been working on a history of Mardi Gras here in Terrebonne Parish, and I'd like to share a few points with you.
That would be great.
Okay. Now, Mardi Gras tableaux and balls have been here since 1875. The first Mardi Gras organization to form was the crew of, listen now, Bivalve.
Bivalve? Isn't that an oyster?
Yes, oysters have a great history in Terrebonne Parish, and the group or the crew who officially organized and planned the parades and tableau, again, as the crew. Okay. However, then came a man named Tikhon Duplantis in 1914. He was a butcher and later a sugarcane farmer, but he is most famous as the father of Carnival in Terrebonne Parish. He never wore a jeweled crown or wielded a jeweled scepter
Like you got to do, right?
or sat on a throne, but he was the first Carnival king and staged the first parades in Terrebonne Parish. His realm was Bayou Cane, and it became the Mardi Gras capital of Terrebonne Parish. Now, there was no glitter or pageantry like today, but Tikhon's parades epitomized the spirit of the bayou. He decorated his plantation wagon with Spanish moss, stalks of sugarcane, wildflowers from the bayou banks, and palmettos from the swamp. He decorated with the Mardi Gras colors. The Mardi Gras colors are purple, green, and gold. And now, he had other decorations that he purchased from some of the leading stores here in Terrebonne Parish.
Gosh, can you tell me about the actual parade itself? I mean, did a lot of people participate in that?
Oh, yes, thrones and thrones of people. But Tikhon was a born showman.
Sounds like.
He led the parade on horseback. And then came the queen, and she rode on the first float. Next came the Gras Boeuf. And you know, the Gras Boeuf was a live cow from the plantation riding in a two-wheel cart. There was a big barrel of popcorn on the float, and the maskers threw the popcorn to the crowd.
So you're saying that popcorn was probably the first Mardi Gras throw?
Yes, that's true. But you know, then after that came the musicians' floats.
Okay.
The knights that we now call dukes were masked plantation workers riding mules. The big plantation bell was on one of the leading floats. As it neared Houma, it was rung, and every bell in town rang, and every whistle blew in accompaniment to cheer on the king and his entourage. You know, for more than a quarter of a century, Ticon's loyal subjects cheered their uncrowned king. He will always be the spirit of carnival to those who live here.
Yes, he will be. Well, that's quite a story, but so like, how did we get to Mardi Gras now, like it is?
Well, you know, after World War II, people wanted to have fun again. So, in 1948, Houma's first official carnival organization was formed, the Houma Terrebonne Carnival Club, the Crew of Houmas. They parade to this very day on Mardi Gras Day. Then in 1950, the Greater Houma Carnival Club was formed. Later in 1957, to become the Crew of Terrenians.
Sounds to me like only the guys got in on all the fun. What about the women?
Oh, no, 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 no. The women participated as well. They became known as the Crew of Hyacinthians and has been going strong ever since. Even to this day, Houma has 13 active crews who parade and have tableaux throughout the parish. You know, there are some crews who don't parade, but have a beautiful grand tableau. It's a family affair that goes on for about a week and a half before Lent.
Wow. Well, I am amazed by what you have told me. I mean, it's so interesting. You know, I think I'm going to have to come back and see this for myself. I really do. As a matter of fact, I think I might actually have to be in one of those parades.
Oh, you should.
Lawrence, thank you so much. Thank you so much for explaining to me about the history of Mardi Gras in Terrebonne Parish.
Oh, you know, it's my pleasure to talk about it. But you know...
But I also want to thank you for telling me how those beads got into those trees.
Oh, yes, yes. However, you know what I've done? I've marked off a few other points of interest that while you're here in Houma, that you should go and visit.
Thank you. I'm definitely going to do that. That was very kind of you to do that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. But
Well.
anyway, happy Mardi Gras.
Happy Mardi Gras. Well, I have to say that this place has really changed me. I really have come to love it, and I think I might stay here. In fact, I think I might have to be in one of those parades.
It sounds like you had a great time. I can tell. Okay. Yep. You're not coming back? Oh, well, I got room for one more on my tour guide bus. Anyway, thank you so much, Gail. My next friend is Liz. Liz, did you make it back? Liz? Oh, hey, Liz. Liz Guidry.
Well, when I got off of that fabulous broken bus, the first thing I noticed were these amazing oak trees downtown. So my eye just led me there, and when I got there, there was this beautiful brand new bandstand with some young people out there who were willing to explain all that they knew about the bandstand. And there is even one young man that even played a little tune for me. So it was pretty amazing. That's a pretty fancy looking bandstand.
Oh man, the Hatch Grant Association had this bandstand built in honor of Terrebonne Parish's 200th birthday. In the 1900s, there was a bandstand very similar to this in the courthouse square with a copper dome roof, banisters, oil lamps for lighting. It was a place for the community to gather to listen to music, song, and speeches.
Well, what kind of music did they play here?
Well, there's not a lot of history of our bandstand that's recorded. There was a fire here that destroyed a lot of the courthouse and documents from that day. So a lot of the neighboring parishes have photographs of the Homa bandstand, led by Dr. Blanchard, as well as the Dr. Ridley's band. And they performed here around the turn of the century. Everyone was recovering from the Civil War, and it was a great place for the community to get together and hear great music around the bandstand.
In fact, in 1895, Professor Frank Fabricus, also known as Mr. Music, and his wife Conception moved to Homa from New Orleans. Mr. Fabricus was born in Barcelona, Spain, and he studied music at St. Stanislaus Academy in Bay St. Louis. Shortly after moving to Homa, he opened up a store, sold instruments, and traveled the parish giving music lessons. The whole Fabricus family played music. Mrs. Fabricus was a pianist and a singer, with the rest of the family playing clarinet, saxophone, trombone, trumpet, string bass, drums, tuba. They played twice a week in the courthouse square.
Well, what happened to the original bandstand?
In the 1930s, it got moved to Legion Park when they started construction on the new courthouse.
Well, you know, I've heard a lot about Cajun music, but I don't know what that is.
Well, one of our most famous dishes in South Louisiana is gumbo. Gumbo combines the culinary practices of Africans, Native Americans, French, and Spanish. Gumbo is a metaphor for the melding of our cultures. And just like our food, Cajun music is also a mixture of our cultures. When the Acadians started arriving in 1764, they brought many French ballads that told stories of bygone years. The violin was popular in France. Native American Indians contributed a wailing, singing style. Black Creoles contributed new rhythms and a sense of percussion and the blues. The Spanish contributed the guitar, and the German Jewish merchants imported the accordion, or as we like to call it, the good old squeeze box. And when we put all this together, we have Cajun Zydeco music.
Well, I've heard the term fado-do, but what does that mean?
Fado-do was whenever Terrebonne Parish was very spread out, and Saturdays and Sundays the families would come into Homa for song and dance. The families would gather while the mom and dad were trying to sneak away to the dance floor. The mother would sneak away as a designated babysitter, trying to put the kids to sleep. So the mom was trying to get the kids to make dodo, French for dodo. So can we get some French dodo happening over here? Can you make sleep?
That's how you make sleep.
I've heard a lot about Friday night lights in the South. What about marching bands? Do y'all have any around here?
Yeah, we so our youth are very interested in music. Friday Night Lights in this particular area or in South Louisiana is the equivalent to football in the South. So our marching bands like to share in some of that glory. So you'll hear anything down from fighting songs to drum cadences to a roaring crowd on a Friday night. Also, you know, our local bands will participate in college football games, college bowl parades, also festivals. But speaking of parades, our morning girls would not be the same without our local bands coming down Main Street and spicing up the day with some of their local funky beats.
Speaking of spicing it up, I think I'll just sit here and listen to the musician a little while.
Looks like you learned a lot about a bandstand, and oh, that is wonderful. Thank you, Liz.
I danced the whole afternoon away.
I knew it. Okay, next up, let's see. Kimball, Keith, are y'all in here? Kimball? Kimball Bonner. Hey. Oh, Keith Whiteside. Yes, there they are. Okay, come on, boys. I have a ruler here. Let's go. Come on.
Yes, I got this one. You got that one. I'm in the front. What'd you get to see?
Well, it was an amazing mural of a Coca-Cola mural out downtown. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. There was a guy over there telling us a little bit about that, right?
Reggie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sure was. Reggie Ponte.
Yeah, he says he looks like somebody. I'm not sure if I remember his wife said he looked like.
Clint Eastwood?
Yeah. Do you believe that?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I don't know about good-looking things that much, but I found something out, too.
What's that?
Like, I dabble in TV a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, but there's like this pretty cool TV station. And I was really looking forward to it. I got to go meet the Martin False. I mean, it's really interesting. So there's, like, this is a restaurant, and then the other side is like a bank, but I don't even know what that is anymore. It just looks like an old bank. So, and then there's, oh my gosh, there's this.
That thing's magical.
I mean, I've never seen anything like this.
Why would they put something like this here?
In the middle of town.
How y'all doing? I see y'all talking about our mural here in Houma.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember when they painted this. It was for Crazy in Alabama.
Oh.
Yeah. Antonio Banderas directed it, and Melanie Griffith had a lead role in it. You see, there was David Morris, and Meatloaf played the sheriff. We also had 3 local actors play their deputies. Huh. Yeah, Larry Hyatt, Randy Bozette, and a guy, Reggie Ponte, who my wife thinks is Clint Eastwood.
Really? Good-looking guy.
You know, I also had a neighbor growing up, Martin False, who wrote and produced a movie called Nutriman. Matter of fact, he has a television station right up the street, and he has the costume of the Nutriman in the television station.
Wait. There's a TV station here, like in this little town?
Yeah, right up the street.
Well, listen, I've done some television. Like, I've been to television for 10 years.
Really?
I'd really like to meet those people. I might be able to, like, teach them a thing or two, and maybe they could show me their little studio or something.
Yeah, it's right up the street. You can't miss it.
I'd really love to hear more about this movie. So, what's it called? What's the name of it?
Nutriman.
Nutriman, and the station is
HTV.
HTV.
Right up the street.
Right there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah.
I'll meet you back at the bus.
Good meeting you.
All right.
Yeah, so that's some mural, huh?
That's amazing. I heard that the Houma was the setting for the movie Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yeah, they recently shot it here.
I heard, what other kind of movies were filmed here?
Well, there was, we have a native here who's
Quinvingine Wallace.
Yes.
Hush Puppy.
Yes. She is the youngest nominated actress for an Oscar in The Beast of the Southern Wild. Oh, yeah, and when you came into Houma, you may have seen a sign of her name that she's a native here of Houma. Yeah, you can read more about the movies that were shot here. Matter of fact, they got a bunch of information on it at the library.
Oh, the library? Mm-hmm. I love libraries. When you go in there, I love the smell of the old books. I'll tell you what, I'll take you up on that tip. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, good meeting you.
You too.
Can I help you?
I'm looking for the library.
I'm sorry it moved. This is the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office Civil Division.
Where's the library at?
They built a state-of-the-art one right there off of 311.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Appreciate it.
Sir, you all right? You lost?
I'm looking for the library.
The library's off of 311 by the Civic Center. You need a ride?
If you don't mind.
No problem.
Thank you. Seatbelt.
Take care.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff.
Welcome to the library. The reference department's on the second floor. Well, hello, Sheriff.
Hello, how are
I'm
you?
bringing you the book you ordered.
Oh, thank you. That's what I've been looking for. How to Catch a Leprechaun.
This is not a small studio. My goodness, this place is huge. All right, here's the entrance. See if they'll let me in. Wow. This is impressive. Studio, but I wonder what it used to be. Huh. This was an old DuPont's building. Martin Falls. Ring bell for assistance. See if I can go check out the studio, find out more about this movie. They let me in. Man, wonder what it would be like to do a TV show in this place. There it is. There's the movie poster. Nutriman, Terra in the Swamp.
Martin Falls, if you could hear me, please tell me how you made this movie. Please.
Can I help you?
Yeah, is Martin here? Martin Falls, is he here?
And who are you?
I'm Keith Whiteside.
Is he expecting you? Keith Whiteside. Let me check for you.
All right.
Martin, there's a Keith Whiteside here to see you. Are you expecting him? Okay. He said you can go on in. He'll see you.
Nice. Through here?
Yes. Through those double doors.
Keith Whiteside.
Martin Falls.
When Joni said you were here, I said, I gotta see Keith. Have a seat. How have you been?
I am very well. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. What brings you here?
Well, this studio is one, very impressive, but more importantly, I needed to find out more about the movie.
Nutriman.
Yeah, Terra in the Swamp.
It's ironic you show up today. I'm actually editing a piece for television showing the years back.
Really?
1984 we released it.
So, can I watch?
Well, you're here, and I'm actually wrapping up a little segment. So how about if you sit here and watch and tell me what you think?
I would be glad to. Let's go.
Let me get this thing going. All right, Keith, how about we start with what inspired me to write and produce Nutriman? I think we would have to go way back to 1971. I was 11 years old when I was mesmerized by those Super 8 movie cameras. Dad told me that if I would go around the neighborhood and cut grass and then save the money, that he would allow me to buy a camera that I had my eyes on at L&N Camera Center. Well, when I saved enough money, Dad brought me to L&N Camera Center, and that $57 camera became so instrumental in what later would be my career. In 1982, I was duck hunting with Mike Haydell, and we, for no real reason, killed a nutria. I was bothered that night because for the life of me, I could not understand why I killed something that meant no harm to me. I remember telling Mike Haydell that I was going to make my first movie about a nutria mutant that would go after people like us who killed animals for no reason. He laughed, but I was serious. I started writing the general storyline about an experiment that went wrong. The idea was that trappers paid a high-dollar scientist to find a way to make nutria bigger. He experimented with human hormones injected into a nutria, and there you have it, Nutriman. However, once the script was finished, I had to raise some monies. I did not have a dollar to my name, literally. So I hit the streets. I was 22 when the script was finished. I approached local investors whom you see on the screen right now. I traded hotel rooms for credits. I borrowed boats and talent. I sought out locals who were interested in starring in a local movie. In 1982, many locals showed up to my old office on Barrel Street to audition. Needless to say, some were quite good and some, let's just say, needed a little work.
You two idiots back already?
Let's get to skinning those damn critters in.
We ain't got nothing to skin.
What the hell you babbling about, boy?
Somebody's been running our trap.
Some even showed up dressed for the part. We started filming in October of 1983. My luck was good. We enjoyed 18 straight days of bluebird weather, so shooting went fast with long days. Like I said before, I used mostly local talent with a sprinkling of some who had experience. My good friend Chuck Bush had just finished his part in Fandango. Chuck Long came aboard with some limited experience, and Billie Holiday was the game warden actor that I needed for that part. The rest were all local and had never been in a movie before. We were all raw and eager to see what happened next. My choice for Nutria Man was my dear friend Keith Barker, who was tall, lean, but more importantly, a great swimmer. My big secret went on for weeks, and news reporters kept hawking me to see who was Nutria Man.
It's Dr. David Rao, who's a local physician here in Houma, and his mom actually sat down and put this together. And David's very good with making costumes, but he only had a week to do it, and I think for having a week to do it, he did a fine job with it.
I then flew off to Hollywood with the film reels in hand. Keith Barker came with me on that first trip. And on that trip, we snuck into NBC studios and took some proof pictures on the Johnny Carson Tonight Show set. On that night, I actually met Johnny Carson and his crew after a security guard noticed me wandering around. He asked for my credentials, and of course, I had none. He noticed my accent, and as luck would have it, the security guard was also from the Deep South. He was from New Orleans. He allowed me to stay at the spot where I would later get a chance to shake hands with my idol, the famous Johnny Carson. He also allowed me to get a front row seat and watch the show. Kathleen Turner and the famous Chainsaw Juggler were the guests that night. The next day I tried to get into Warner Brothers and pitch my film, but I got caught at the security station. They, of course, made me leave, but undeterred, I simply thought that I did not look the part. The next day I tried again. They had a different guard. I walked right through. I went straight to the second floor where all the brass were located. When I got to the president's office, I asked her secretary if I could speak with her. She started to tell me to leave, but I told her that I had a film to show Miss Maddox. Miss Maddox was only a few feet away in the other room and overheard my plea. She told the secretary to show me in. We spoke for a while, and I left the film with her. She called the next day and informed me that this was not a Warner Brothers type of film. Before I got too disappointed, she told me that an acquaintance of hers owned New World Pictures and might be interested. She made a call, and the next day I worked the deal out for the domestic rights to New World and the overseas rights to Shapiro Entertainment.
The movie has hit worldwide. It's been in France, it's been in Italy, it's been all over the world. They've changed the name of the movie. It's now called Terror in the Swamp. And the reason for the change is because no one outside of this immediate area knew what a nutria was. So when we sat down and we sold the rights to the movie, we said, well, how about Terror in the Swamp?
They did allow me a premiere day in Houma at Southland Cinema, in which Governor Edwin Edwards and others attended. My grandparents, parents, and my entire family were there. Also, many friends and acquaintances were there. It was a special day. In the end, The movie made exactly enough money to pay my investors back, along with their tax break. Unfortunately, I did not make a penny, but I sure did gain unlimited knowledge on how movies are made. I later would commit to my good friend Timmy Thompson in his ventures in movies that turned out to be a great success. Timmy, of course, was with Cross Creek Pictures. Who knows? Maybe one day a sequel to Nutrient Man will hit the theaters again. This time we might have a bigger budget.
So Keith, did you get to see the suit, new Nutriman?
Yeah.
Was it scary?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Listen, you thought getting broken down on a bus in a place you don't know is scary? Let me tell you, watching that, seeing that, that's scary.
That's awesome.
It was cool. So very impressive. And one of the guys offered to bring me out in a boat and show me exactly where that last scene was filmed. I can't wait to go see that.
That's amazing. Yeah. Awesome.
So that was a cool movie.
Absolutely. You know, I didn't realize how many other movies were filmed in Houma. For instance, right here, The Hot Flashes, The Butler, Where the Crawdads Sang. That's with Reese Witherspoon. Deadline, The Best of Me, 12 Years a Slave, A Lesson Before Dying, Crazy in Alabama, Melanie Griffith, Beast of the Southern Wild, and Terror in the Swamp. And the one that we just had here last year, or this year, was Emancipation with Will Smith. That's actually going to be released in limited theaters tomorrow.
It's cool stuff. Cool stuff. Yeah. And it all started with Nutriment, first full-length film ever filmed, Terrebonne Parish. Very impressive.
Awesome. I think we have Mary LaBeouf.
Hello. I am here to tell you about the wonderful library system that you are in. We have a long history. In 1927, 6 ladies from this community got together to do a book club and to share books. So book clubs are not new. Let me just tell you that, okay? And when they got together, they continued to meet, and their group got bigger and bigger and bigger. And in 1929, they decided that this parish needed a library system. So they got a room in the People's Bank building, which is the little theater right now. And they hired a library director. Her name was Sylvia Ray Johnson. They started with 428 books. And Miss Johnson's salary were the dues from the club and the fines from the overdue books. Now, I bet she wanted those books to come back late. I don't know about you. So, the library moved from building to building as the collection grew. And in 1939, they contacted this new group started in Baton Rouge called the Louisiana Library Commission. The Louisiana Library Commission today is the State Library of Louisiana. And the sole role was to go to all 64 parishes and to start libraries. So, in 1939, they came here. And this was the very first individual library, not in a building, not in a bank, not in anything. Do you recognize it? 424 Roussel Street. This was the first one. And look, you can never get away with this today. They enticed people to come in because they built a fireplace so you could sit by the fire and read. Boy, with all that paper. So, that's the library. When they worked for 1 year, and they said, when we leave, your parish has to adopt an independent way to fund a library system. So, in 1940, a 1 mil was adopted by the parish, okay? So you had your Roussel Street, and then you had these 2 branches in Gibson, one end of the parish, and all the way in the other end in Chauvin. So, next one. Also, after this, bookmobiles, because now they had a little bit of money. So bookmobiles started. The bookmobile is on that side of the bayou in Dularge, and the people were coming across in pirogues. Now, sometimes it was reversed. Sometimes the librarians would get in pirogues and go across. So you'd never get away with that today. They also had bookmobiles that went in the rural areas, the Chauvin-Montague area, and also the Gibson area. There were 2 bookmobiles at that time. Then it continued for years. There were libraries in the 60s, 1965, Montague, Berg, Pointe-à-Cher, Chauvin. All those libraries were formed. We even had a library that a lot of people do not know. There was a 2-room library called the Carver Branch in the Dumas Auditorium. So that was there until probably the late 90s. In 1952, they realized that the old wooden library at 424 Roussel Street was too small. So this is the library that was built. 8,500 square feet, stone. That's where you want to be for a hurricane. Promise you, promise you. When we put the first computer in there in 1989, Leslie Bundy had a technology company. It took him 9 drill bits to get through the wall just to run the line. He broke 9 drill bits. I was there, I saw it. This was the dedication of the main library, and I'm telling you, library are pack rats, because the 2 paintings on the wall we have in this library. So libraries have a trouble getting rid of stuff. Next slide. This was the East Houma branch. The East Houma branch was built in 1968 on Grand Caillou Road, and then the North branch here was built in 1972. Then it was 1,400 square feet. Today it is 2,800 square feet. Okay, next slide. Okay, as they got money, and I want to tell y'all, it was not a lot of money. I'm going to get to that. The Dularge branch was built in '85. It was a bank, and the men in the community, they cleared out the bank, and they built the shelves. So everyone in that community, some of the men built that. We stored stuff in the vault. The vault was there for years and years and years. Chauvin branch, we lost during a hurricane on HTV. I remember hearing Jimmy DeGate. I never remember which hurricanes are which, sorry. But Jimmy DeGate said, Mary Cospel above, if you are watching, you have over a foot of water in your Chauvin branch. I can remember that like yesterday. Gibson was dedicated in 1985, so was the Dulac branch. And then Montague, those branches are still there from 1965. I've been here a long time, but I'm very young. But before we got here, in the late 80s and early 90s, we had 10 branches in this system, 1 main branch and 9 branches. We had 26 employees. We got 3 meals. So remember, in 1940 was 1 meal. In 1990, we had 3 meals. We took in only $800,000. We had a sign on the desk that said, please do not ask us for pencils, paper clips. We do not have them. Seriously. My mother funded all the pencils that we needed during that time. So in 1996, the federal government says, you have to be ADA compliant. You have to do this, this, and this. But they didn't give us any money. So we were like, what do we do? So we tried to adapt the North Branch to be ADA because it was the latest building that we had built. It didn't really work. The federal government was not happy with us. So we went for a tax, and the millage tax failed. Then one day some man came in my office and said, I do not want to live in this parish, and this is the library system. So I'm going to do something about it. And not to be ugly, I'm like, really? Okay. Well, he did. And that man was Michel Claudet. And he got a number of his business people to come. I'm not lying, y'all. I would sit in my office in that little building, and I'm like, Mr. Buquet, why are you here? I'm Mr. Jimmy. Like, men, all these business people kept coming in. Well, we went for the election. We had a plan, and we even had a dog march. I don't know if some of y'all remember that. Don't let the libraries go to the dogs. Okay, that was the theme. So we went, we had the election passed. Yay! And I'm going to show you the results. This, and I'm talking fast because Karen said I only have 7 minutes. Okay. And she knows me and tells me that. Okay. This is the main library. We knew we had 1 shot, and it had to be right. So I went to the parish president and said, we need to hire a library architect. Well, no politician wants to hear that because they want a local architect. So we came up with a compromise. We had a library architect and a local architect team up. And this is the result, which you're sitting in. You can go to the next slide. We're the first library in the state to have a drive-through window. Imitation is the best form of flattery because now there's a very lot of them that have drive-through windows. And COVID proved it's needed. We are the only library in the state, in the region, in the United States, that has a bubble wall as you walk in the children's department. We're the only library that has an outdoor theater, and we do use it. It doesn't rain all the time here, so we do use it. We have, and it's right here, the best regional genealogy collection in the region. So I'm sorry to brag, because I know I'm speaking to the choir, but it's nice to know where we have nice things here. So, okay, next slide. We promised when the election passed that we would not just keep it in Houma, that we would serve all of Terrebonne Parish, and we're keeping that word. We kept that word. If you look, this is one of my favorite things, thanks to the friend of the library. If you haven't been, this is the North Branch across from H.L. Bourgeois. It is not a real tree, but you're going to have to touch it because you're going to walk in there and think it's a real tree. I promise you. That was their gift. The Grand Caillou branch, that's a dulac. It is that height because it's mandated because of hurricanes and the flooding. And then this is the main library. Right now, we are in the process of consolidating the Berg branch, the Montague branch, and the Chauvin branch, and we are going to build a South Regional branch, about 8,000 square feet. We're going out to bid next year. That will be our gift. That will be. Next year, the main library where you're sitting, and you're going to tell me it's not true, and it is. In April, we will be 20 years old. So I'm sure you feel old. I don't, but you do. Okay, next slide. We have the highest honor you can get in the world of libraries and museums is called the National Medal. We have been nominated for the National Medal 5 times. But it's not fun to always be the bridesmaid. I'm ready to be that bride. So, and then we have also been the Louisiana Library of the Year this year and in 2004. Thank you. I think that's it, huh, Brian? Thank you. Oh, no, that was it. Thank you. But the library is not 4 walls filled with books. The library is my wonderful staff that work here and you wonderful people who use it. Your library is now your community center. We do about 4,000, you heard me, 4,000 programs a year for the community. So, thank you.
Well, Kimball and Keith, it looks like y'all really got a lot of information. I am so impressed. And then the library, oh, wow. So, y'all will be joining us back on the tour bus, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good, okay. All right.
Yeah, we borrowed that book from the sheriff.
Yeah?
We're going to be reading it together. He's going to help me, I'm going to help him.
Okay, next we have, let's see, somebody was, Travion? Oh, there you are. Travion Smith. So, what did you learn?
I learned about the theater. I'm very into storytelling and nice things that...
Storytelling?
Yes, I love storytelling.
Wonderful, I like storytelling too.
Yes, ma'am.
But you know what? You never let a good story, the truth get in the way of a good story, okay?
Absolutely, it got to be entertaining. But I started getting into storytelling, and we hosted something called Downtown Storytellers here in Houma. And I wanted to see more about the storytelling, so I checked out the La Petite Theater.
Well, hey.
Hey, how you doing? My name's Travion Smith.
Well, I'm Doug Holloway.
How you doing? I'm fresh in town. I was looking around and saw the theater. I thought I'd check it out.
Oh, well, you came at a great time because we just got it renovated. Come on in, let me show it to you.
Awesome.
Travion, why don't you have a seat? I'd like to introduce you to our longest-serving board member, Edwina Yakobsat. Edwina, this is Travion Smith.
How do you do?
How you doing, Miss Edwina?
Good for an old bat.
Thank you guys for having me. When did the Playhouse become organized?
Le Petit was organized in 1938 by Mrs. Esther McCullum. And our first presentation was the night of January 16th by Anne Rand. It was a courtroom drama, and it just so happened that our new courthouse had just been constructed. So we presented the play in the new courthouse.
Anne Rand is one of my favorite authors, and The Night of January 16th is one of my favorite plays. Was it very popular back then?
Yes, we've done the play 3 times. We did it originally in 1938 when we first started. We did it in 1988 on our 50th anniversary, and we did it in 2013 for our 75th anniversary.
So in 1938, the play was held in a real courtroom. Why not in the theater?
Because we didn't have a theater, and there was no place else to do it, and it was a courtroom drama. So we were allowed to use the brand new Terrebonne Courthouse. Only 4 seasons were held before World War II, and we had to shut down. We shut down from 1945 to 1955 because we had the Korean War in there also. After the war, we reorganized in 1955 and presented several seasons, all of them at Terrebonne High School. But we were desperately looking for a place to become our home. We appealed to the city council, and they said that they might consider, and also at that time we had the police jury and the city court, city council, and they agreed between them to give us, I think it was $50,000 to construct a theater over by the Shady Oak Park. Before that happened, somebody realized that the old Terrebonne Bank building was empty on Main Street. And in place of the $50,000, they offered us the building. We could turn it into a theater, and we had to supply the money for the reconstruction, which we did. And we managed to open. Our first play was Monique, and it was in 1962. The theater was created by Mrs. Esther McCullum, who was the owner of a plantation in Houma and was very interested in theater. She decided that we would have Le Petit Théâtre de Terrebonne, which was named in the same mode as Le Petit Théâtre de Vieux Carré in New Orleans. We had board meetings. We got organized. We had a 25-member board meeting. We elected officers and proceeded from there. At the conclusion of our first season, somebody wanted to give the equivalent of an Oscar to the best performances in our season, which was 4 plays at that time. And we decided to name our Oscar Esther in honor of Mrs. Esther McCullum, who actually was the mother of Le Petit.
Yes, I saw the statuette. It reminded me of the Oscars. So who have been your most performed plays here?
Well, the plays most performed have been by Neil Simon and Tennessee Williams. But we've also done plays that are very popular with the audience called Nonsense, and they were written by Dan Goggin. And we've done 5 out of the 6 of those series. And if you're not familiar with it, it's about a group of nuns who are desperately in need of raising money. And the way they go about this is by putting on shows. And their antics and what they say has the audience rolling every time.
So have either of you ever been in plays, and do you have any Esthers?
But I was in the theater for 50 years. And I did at least, directed one a year and was in one a year.
Wow. So what about Esthers? Do you have any Esthers?
Yes, I have several.
Modesty becomes you.
One or two.
And I've been in several plays as well. And probably my most favorite role was in a play that Edwina hates called Four Weddings and an Elvis, and I played Marvin, a mail carrier, a postal worker in that show, and he was real nerdy, and it was just a fun role to play. And yeah, I have a couple of Esthers as well, so.
Do you have any plays that feature children and teach them about comedy and tragedy?
Yes, we started a children's theater almost immediately. And then later on, South Louisiana Center for the Arts was founded in 2001 as a means of supplementing art education for elementary and secondary students in the area. The group provided summer camp focusing on music and dramatic arts, and closed out with a musical presentation. SOLA is funded by several grants and support via camp fees and donations. The production showcases the young talent and assures that music and dramatic arts will be ever present in the future of Terrebonne Parish.
Looking around, I see that this place looks very new and it still smells like paint, fresh paint. But I can tell there's a lot of history in and outside of the building.
Oh yes, there's a lot of history here. A lot of plays have gone on in this theater, and we've tried to maintain the historical aspect of the theater as much as possible. But our 2019-2020 season got cut short because of
COVID.
the pandemic and the COVID. And our last show in the theater before renovations began was called Jellyfish, and it was about a group of longtime friends who got together once a week to play poker. And it dealt with, their friendships and what happens after a period of time. But little did we know, and little did the actors and everybody know, that it was going to be COVID who was going to be playing the trump card on us. But even after that, we had to wait a while before the renovations could begin because of the restrictions placed on us by the pandemic. But once they were able to get in here, the contractor immediately began working on the building, and two of the first things they started working on was all the electrical is brand new and the plumbing is brand new. And talking about plumbing, before the renovations, we only had one bathroom, and it was pretty tight in there, and it had to be used by both the men and the women. Edwina called it our bisexual bathroom. But now we have two nice-sized bathrooms, and one for the men and one for the women. And I know it seems strange to get excited about bathrooms, but that's showbiz.
Seems great that you guys are moving in the right direction. What's next for La Petite Theater?
Well, right now we have a committee established that is going to be setting up for the new reopening grand ceremony. And because Le Petit Theater is the official community theater for Terrebonne Parish. So we're very excited about allowing people to come in here and see what has been accomplished. And then in January, we're going to open up with our first show for the season, and that's going to be Neil Simon's Come Blow Your Horn.
I had an amazing time learning about the theater. Edwina was a sweetheart. She showed me a lot of history about Terrebonne Parish and inspired me to be involved in something like this. So I think I want to hang around home a little bit and possibly see a play or 3 or 4. Come January, membership's open, so I'll be here.
Oh, so I don't guess you're going on the bus, right?
Nah, the food's too good, and I want to check out Mardi Gras.
Going back on the bus. That's okay. Thank you so much. It looks like you learned so much. Oh, those people look familiar. Oh, well. Yeah, I think I've seen them somewhere before. Okay, next we have Jean. Jean, did you come back? Oh, there she is, Jean Calderera. Come right on up and tell us about everything you learned.
Did you know that Houma had an opera house? They never put on an opera. Is anyone surprised? But they did put on minstrel shows, little local plays. It was started by the fire department. They wanted to raise funds for equipment, and so that's why they did it. And they had the flickers. Flickers are silent movies. They had those. They had local musicians to provide music. Home had a lot of movie theaters. They had the Wonderland, they had the Bijou, they had the Grand. And the Grand was really grand. It had its own popcorn machine and its own candy stand. And the admission was 5 cents.
Wow.
So the theaters tried to outdo each other, which is only making everything better. Then they had the Fox Theater and the new Bijou. And then the new Bijou caught fire. The brick walls were all that was left. The curtains caught fire. And the rebuilding was so expensive that the tickets had to go up to 75 cents. Then they had the Park Theater. The movie Tulsa. I've never seen it. Have any of you seen it? They depicted an oil well exploding. Well, the reverberations from that collapsed the suspension ceiling. So it had to be redone. And let me see, the paper reported that 54 people were hurt, and some of their relatives are around here still and talk about them going. The Bayou communities did not have to travel to go have entertainment. They had something in 1880, the Mayflower, and it was a showboat. And they had minstrel shows, they had movies on board, and they had, and it was destroyed in the 1926 hurricane. The Rex Theater came about in 1934, and the Bijou Drive-In came about. Now this held about 300 cars, and they said that a lot of people snuck in. They would drive on the street and watch. But then once the multiplex theaters came about with the air conditioning and the seating, the drive-ins shut down because they couldn't compete with the comfort. Okay, in the 1800s, an Englishman named Lucian Southern came about. He was wealthy. He had a lot of land. He allowed people to have picnics and use his land for family parties and whatever. So they would call it the Park. Now, many of you have seen Park Theater. That was named after him, after his land. And Southern Avenue is also named after him. And I went there. This was also home to, and I'd never heard of this tribe, the Chateauque Indian shows. And they even had a skating rink in these parks. And that's how, as I said, that's how Park got its name. Then they had another big park. It's on a different area of this. It's on the east side, and it's the airport. And during World War II, it's the air base. The Navy had a blimp station out here. And in the 1950s, the Air Force took over. And then they tracked aircraft entering airspace during the Cold War. And then when the base closed, it was used for family gatherings and picnics. And the airbase had rodeos, traveling circuses, fairs, and air shows. Now, there's someone from Houma that was a stunt flyer Corky Fornoff. Did any of you know him? Okay, well, I, of course, not being from here, I didn't know him, but they said he flew the vertical plane in the movie Octopussy, the James Bond movie. So he was something else. And the grand finale in these air shows was always the Blue Angels. Okay, so the local tourists always also go on swamp tours. Have any of you ever been on a swamp tour? Annie Miller has been rather famous for, I guess she even started them really, for a profit. But now they have several other ones, and she's now deceased, but her name is well known. I decided not to do that. So I wanted to go look at some plantation homes. And I was told Southdown Plantation and Ardougne Plantation were two beautiful plantation homes. However, they were both under construction. So there was one that a lot of people had never heard of, Volumia Farms and the Residence House. And as I understand it, it's the oldest family farm in the parish. And the Ruffin Barrow family bought it. Now, I did see a Barrow Street, so that was named after Ruffin Barrow. And they bought the farm from James Bowie, who invented the Bowie knife. Okay, I'm really overwhelmed by the things that I learned here. I do feel like I need to come back and revisit a lot of this.
Does that mean you're not going to come back on the bus?
I'll let you know.
Thank you, John. Okay. Joelle, you here? Did you make it? Oh, good, you made it back. Joelle Annisman.
I'm here. So, if I was asked once, I was asked about a dozen times, who's your mama? Are you Catholic? Can you make a roux? Well, you don't know my mama. And the answer to the other two, no. But with some help, I'm learning. I even got my own roux spoon. Did you know that they had such a thing? So, a little story. My mama, on her deathbed, would not share a recipe. True story. People around here are always willing to share their recipes. I met lots of good cooks, of course, who taught me about roux, and I learned about Terrebonne Parish being a sportsman's paradise. The heart of the family is in the kitchen, be it inside, outside, a boiling pot, a grill. Everybody loves to cook, even a rotisserie. People make a day of food. They catch it, they trap it, they fish for it, they hunt for it, they use fishing poles, nets, they go in boats, and then they go home to clean and prepare it to be cooked for dinner. Families plant, tend, harvest their gardens. They sit around and shell vegetables, clean vegetables for fun. Then they package them and put them away for the winter. And most people thought of that as work, but they felt it was like entertainment. Cooking here is an event. They make gumbos, chilies, cast iron, cooking, and their contest, if you can imagine that. So before Taco Tuesday in Terrebonne Parish, they had Fish Fry Friday, and not just for Lent, all the time. No chicken for Sunday dinner unless it was in a gumbo with a potato salad. Paupières. A paupière on the water would end up with a catch in a pot to be shared with the neighborhood. Leftovers are peeled and put away in the freezer. An old tradition that has been brought back is the boucherie. Now, I think boucherie is French for butchering. A hog is slaughtered early in the morning and cooked during the day while the people are celebrating. And the hog is divided among friends and families to last through the winter. Today, boucheries can be a family gathering or a huge festival like the Hash Grant Association has brought back. I think I'll come back in the spring, maybe, to check that out. So, whether big or small, a festival is a lot of work. And a food critic would probably give most of these 5 stars. Then I found out about groups who meet to quilt. So I was invited to one of those groups to learn how to quilt. And look what I made. I made this quilt.
I have a question. Is that a flying geese block? Or is that a fusible webbing that you're using there?
I'm not sure.
Was it done with a long arm?
Yeah, probably.
Oh. Did you make it? 100% by yourself? No. Well, that's what I always say. Never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
But I did want to say that I met this fellow.
Yeah?
Who gave me this shirt. And it's all about Terrebonne Parish.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Joelle. Okay. Now, let's see. Our next person is, I don't see her in here. Stephanie? Stephanie, oh, yes. You would have thought I'd have felt you. Stephanie Kenny Gomez. Oh, wow.
Good afternoon, evening, whatever we are. Like everybody else, or most everybody else, I had to make notes. They gave me fairs and festivals, and all of you who have lived around here forever know there's so many, there's too many to remember, so I had to write them down. So the big thing about fairs and festivals, number one, is to have fun. And then back then, the number 2 thing, well, probably number 1 thing, was to raise money for the churches, and so that they could make repairs and to expand and do enhancements. But the other big thing about fairs and festivals is the food, and of course the music, both of those things. Of course, a lot of the fairs around here, there are Six Flags over Broadmoor, there's St. Gregory's Praline Festival. You know, you gotta have your pralines, best ones ever. The Magnolia Festival at St. Bridget in Shreveport, the Fisherman Festival at Holy Family in Dulac, and the number 1 all-time favorite, anybody want to take a guess? Ta-da! Lagniappe on the Bayou, that's right, down at St. Joseph's in Chauvin. People from all over the world would come, not just around here. I mean, I know, how many of y'all know Ann B. Davis? Alice on the Brady Bunch, woman came every year, I promise you. Lots of pictures of her. The food, again, the food. The Lagniappe Fair burgers were legendary, and of course, the most unique ice cream. Anybody? Pop Rouge ice cream, that's right. So for it ran from, and what kind of dumplings? Blackberry, there you go. Sounds like you've been around a while, Edwina. You know I love you. The fair ran for years, actually from 1969 to 1977. And then we got a new bishop. he did not want the Catholic Church raising money through gambling. So there went the lagniappe. So anyway, in the years coming up from there, other fairs were tried and festivals were started to try to fill the gap. Most notably, the Downtown on the Bayou and the Best of the Bayou. They all lasted for a few years, but then, they had difficulties, and the biggest difficulties were that Hurricanes Katrina and Rita pretty much did them in. Coming up after that was Tab Benoit in around 2004. He created the Voice of the Wetlands. It's a nonprofit dedicated to preserving Louisiana's wetlands and culture. And some of the greatest performers, a lot of you probably have listened to them many times, Knock New and the Wild Matoos. Anybody? Yeah. And of course, Wayne Thibodeau. And trailing it behind that was Tab Benoit. Tab created all of this, and then his son joined him, Tab Jr., and kind of, some people think he even upstaged his daddy. He's just that good. They started performing together, but unfortunately, thanks to COVID and to Ida, we all know who she was, it is no more. The Voice of the Wetlands. So another fun thing to do around here is the Terrebonne Historical and Cultural Society, many years ago, created the Southdown Marketplace, a wonderful venue for local artists and craftsmen to display and sell their art. It's only one day on a Saturday, twice a year, and they have some of the most incredible food, the best corn soup you've ever had, and of course, a big screen TV for the husbands so they could watch the LSU football game while their wives spent all their money. It's true. The biggest festival of all, of course, now is the Rougarou Festival. Yes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It was born on the bayou because of the Children of the Lagniappe Festival people. They wanted to recreate that feeling of Lagniappe and to share that experience, and also celebrate the rich folklore and the swamps of Terrebonne Parish. It all started by Jonathan Foray spears it up, and many of his associates. That's it, your shirt benefactor. That's right. They started in 2011. Despite what may appear, it is a very family-friendly festival. It has been named the top festival of the year, the best festival of the year in 2015, and then in 2020, it was named Festival of the Year by the Louisiana Tourist Commission. So it has really grown from a small little festival to some wonderful family entertainment. Hurricane Ida tried to kill the Rougarou Festival, but she didn't succeed. That year, they turned, instead of the festival, they turned it into Rougarou Relief. And they raised money any way they can. They created some of the original dishes, including the Pop Rouge ice cream, and sold it to raise money to help people recover from Ida. They are back stronger than ever. We just had their festival just this past Halloween. It rose from the swamps, and attendance has gone through the roof. It is a spooky parade, lots and tons of food. Again, the food. They have resurrected the Lagniappe on the Bayou burgers, the Fair burgers, and the Pop Rouge ice cream. So, and there's just lots and lots of other food there, and also, of course, music. Now, everybody's getting ready for the Christmas parade these days. It's going to happen this weekend. So, don't expect me to get on the bus.
Why?
Because I am going to be Mrs. Claus.
Oh. I thought I was going to be Mrs. Claus.
You got the hat to prove it?
No.
Oh, well.
All right, there's another opening on the bus. All right, next we have Tanya. Tanya? Here. Oh, Hey, Tanya Scott Harris. Let's see what you found out.
Oh, I got some great stuff for you. Hello, Terrebonne Parish. So I think we can all agree we're a community rich in culture and music, and you all know the old saying, music is the heart of our souls, right? So let's go down music lane as I share with you just a few of our most memorable musicians from Terrebonne Parish. First music stop, barbershop quartets. I don't know how many people remember the quartets, but they were a four-part harmony in the late 1800s to the early 1900s. The commercial barbershop located in the old Wurtzler Hotel had their own quartet. They would often perform with Professor Fabregas. Anybody remember Professor Fabregas? In the bandstand in the Courtyard Square. Now, in the early 1970s, a group of men formed the Homa chapter of the Society of Preservation and Encouragement of the Barbershop Quartet Singing in America. Now, because local women were not allowed to sing with the men in the quartet, guess what we did? We formed our own quartet. We formed the Homa Bayou Side chapter of the Sweet Adeline and sang for many years together. Next music stop, Michael DeLone. Now, Michael DeLone is a graduate of Vanderbilt Catholic High School. He earned his degree in trumpet performance from the University of Southern Mississippi and then a master's degree in trumpet performance from the Manhattan School of Music. He is now a master sergeant with the Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps, which is the official ceremonial escort to the president. Next music stop, Cyril and Libby Hellier. These were identical twins. They attended Houma Junior High and Terrebonne High School. They earned their bachelor's degree from music from Nichols State University and performed as the operatic sopranos in Houma, Thibodaux, New Orleans, and New York City. Lamar LaBeouf Caesar came from a talented vocal family and graduated from South Terrebonne High School. She also achieved operatic success in Germany and delighted her hometown fans with a few appearances in local concerts. Next music stop, Houma Records. Now in 1961, in 1961, Houma Records was launched by Anthony Rodrigue. The recording studio was right here located in downtown Houma. The label produced over 150 songs from various genres, including rock and roll, soul, swamp pop music, which I didn't know there was a thing, between 1961 and 1970. And Houma native Doug Page has researched the label and learned it was one of the few that served both African Americans and Caucasian artists despite segregation laws. Page also reported that the label had 4 African American artists that recorded blues and soul music. One of the 4 African American artists was Raymond George. Now, Raymond George was best known for his hit song, If I Should Lose Your Love, which was recorded on the Houma Records label. Now, our community is still mourning the loss of Mr. George as he recently passed away 2 weeks ago, November 18th, 2022. Next music stop, Lawrence Joseph L.J. Foray. L.J. Foray began his musical career at the age of 14, playing his father's band, Town Serenaders. He went on to lead his own band, L.J. Foray and his Country Boys. L.J. was inducted into the Louisiana Music Hall of Fame in 2000 and was awarded the South Louisiana Pioneer Award for songwriting and performing. L.J. was also recorded on the Houma Records. Next music stop, Andrew Bernard. Mr. DJ, you got something for me back there?
Judy in the sky, well, that's what you are. A lemonade pie with a brand new car.
Andrew Bernard grew up in Houma. In 1965, was still a music student at LSU. He joined John Fred and the Playboy Band. Andrew was the co-writer of the band hit Judy in Disguise with Glasses. Next music stop, James Thunderbird Davis. Mr. Davis was a great musician and migrated to our area in 1980. He was an electric blues guitarist, singer, songwriter known for his Billboard single, Check Out Time. This hit was released in 1989 and was the blues comeback of the year. Next music stop, the Dusenberry family. Listen up, guys. In 1965, the Dusenberry children learned 2 songs to sing for their talent show at St. Francis de Sales School. The rendition of Green Green and Down in the Valley earned them first place in the show. Now this was the start to many amazing accomplishments. Jean and Wilma Dusenberry had 12 children and 11 short years. Everyone in the family had musical talent, from Papa Jean playing the guitar and the mandolin and performing for more than 30 years with Mr. Waylon Thibodeau. Wife Wilma sang in the church choir. Now, although both Jean and Wilma had musical talents, Wilma credits Jean's mother for the group's musical success. Here's a family secret here. She shared that when the babies were born and the navel falls off, they would bury the navel underneath the rose bush. You heard that before? And then they would learn to sing beautifully. Now that's a white folk tale, but guess what? It worked. They also performed songs for a Canadian television show and produced an album of French songs. Their singing took them all over the United States and also France, of course. Amazingly enough, they sing in commercials to promote tourism back in our hometown as well. And as we move right along in history here, in 2009, incoming State Senator Norby Chabert asked the Dusenberrys to perform La Belle Terrebonne at his inauguration. The song was written by Wilma Dusenberry and several other ladies in 1984. It tells about our marsh and coastal line laws. Now, such wisdom so many years ago. Mr. DJ, you got something else for us back there? Next music stop was another great artist named Barbara George. Now, she was an American R&B singer and songwriter who resided right here in Smith Ridge, Louisiana. She began her singing career in the church choir. Her first recorded single was I Know You Don't Love Me No More. I know I can't sing. It topped the R&B charts, and it was number 3 on the pop charts. It was later recorded by many other artists, including Ike and Tina Turner. Next music stop, Roddy and LaRoe. You got something for
Take a ride on a riverboat.
Yeah.
Gonna leave and that's all she wrote. Paddle wheel down to New Orleans. Gonna find me a brand new queen.
A native of Terrebonne Parish and was an integral part of not only that song, but also New Orleans Ladies. Rod is a renowned pianist with a funky rhythm, incredible improvisational skills that contribute greatly to LaRue's unique sound. Next music stop, Tab Benoit. Tab was born in Baton Rouge, but grew up on the bayou in Terrebonne Parish. Tab Benoit started playing the drums, and luckily for us, he switched to the guitar. His rhythmic blues guitar licks have been compared to the greats like Albert King and Albert Collins. Tab also founded the nonprofit Voice of the Wetlands to raise awareness to coastal erosion. Tab joined with other Louisiana musicians, Cyril Neville and Waylon Thibodeau, to form the band Voice of the Wetlands All-Stars. Tab recently launched his own record label, Whiskey Bayou Records. And for our last musical stop for tonight, Tyron Bennett. Tyron Bennett, Benoit, my apologies, Benoit. Houma native, Tyron Benoit grew up listening to everything from George Jones to Led Zeppelin. After serving his country as a U.S. Marine in Desert Storm, he turned his attention to acting and music. Tyron launched his first debut album, Waiting on Friday, in May of 2022. In November 2021, Rouse's Supermarket launched their holiday campaign featuring Tyron's original song, Feels Like Home. Now this was his love story to Terrebonne Parish. What you got for us, Mr. DJ?
This feels like home. It's where I wanna be. And all the troubles that come and go can never take you away. This feels like life.
Feels like home, right where I wanna be. So regretfully, Tyron was unable to attend today's event, as you heard earlier. He is walking the red carpet with his daughter in Hollywood. I don't know how he missed this, though. For the Will Smith movie, Emancipation. So though this was only a very small collection of artists that we know that there are so many more that have contributed to our rich history of music. Thank you for your listening ears.
Thank you. Well, so we've learned a lot about Terrebonne. One is the food, the music. But most of all, you know what I've learned? Because it's home. Because of all of you. Well, I decided I was going to be a tour guide. Yes, we were going to gamble, and not really gamble. But anyway, and the tour bus broke down. So anyway, we're here in Terrebonne, Paris.
What was it doing in this outfit and wearing those red glasses?
She told me to wear them. I didn't want to.
Okay, you go home right now, you get back to the convent and you put on your hat.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know what I'm going to do with her. She runs away all of the time. Every time I look around, she's going somewhere and pretending she's somebody else instead of him. Oh, you know, a crucifix hit her on the head one time, and that's how she lost her. We've been after her ever since, trying to find out who she really is. You know, I used to be in show business. I was a trapeze artist, yes I was. Oh, well, I don't suppose this is the time to do this. Well, all of you here, I think it's time that we bring everyone back for a hat.
Amnesia's back. And of course, Karen Schilling.
So there are a few people to acknowledge. We've said those. We've got acknowledgments on the back of the program, but all of these people, of course, they're all of my friends. At least they were an hour or two ago. I think they might still be, but I thought they did a great job, and I picked them because of their personalities and their talents, so thank you all very much. The people in the back, the IT people, I always say that when I grow up, I want to be an IT person. They are amazing, amazing, amazing. Brian, Russell, and Ryan from Terrebonne Parish IT department. I should have just alleviated all my fears, knowing that I'll handle it. You did a wonderful job putting all this together, so thank you so much. And my friend Daniel Babin with Jam Up Marketing was just an amazing person too. And thank you, Martin.